Yeah, I was going to say, with things like all these different competitions from being much more general content, do you think Hulu and Disney Plus are going to have to change what they're doing because of the competition?
Not significantly. I think that staying in their lane, they've got something that works for them right now. There's no reason to switch it up. People expect Disney Plus, Hulu to be the way they are. And honestly, changing the way you do business, especially at this early stage for Disney Plus, would probably be seen as kind of blood in the water, them not having faith in their own system. So maybe down the line, but it would be indistinguishable, which is apparently a hard word to say, from just changing it up based on their own internal metrics that have nothing to do with HBO Max, Netflix, Peacock, any of that.
I do think in some ways by Disney having that separate option, you're going to have that. I think going forward in a couple of years' time, Hulu will become a bigger thing for them to kind of put down the line. The only thing that did come up to me with all of these different ones is how Disney Plus seems to be the only one that's kind of not going for the day in day or day after day idea of putting their content on there that's aired. So like the National Geographic and Disney channels, their content is not airing on Disney Plus for months afterwards. And that's the one weakness I feel like Disney Plus is going, you really could do. It's like this week, we could have done with like the first episode of all those shows that are on National Geographic and Disney Plus to keep bringing people in. Because, be honest, the content on Disney Plus this week, this has really felt we've really felt the lack of having the Mandalorian of just like on Fridays and putting up, this is all the content on there. And it's like, there's not anything big here to pull anybody in. There's nothing, and I think had they put on like all the content this week coming from National Geographic and Disney Channel, it would have helped like boost up their numbers of what content is on there. Who's doing it, HBO's doing it, Peacock's doing it. That's the one thing I'm looking at this going, Disney needs to slightly tweak that idea of maybe not keeping everything for a month after it's aired on their network before moving over, because there's a lot of people saying about like the Owl House this week of not being available. And it's like, this feels like out of place compared to what everybody else is doing.
There's probably some internal agreement that they have with the channels to not poach viewers from the television. I think they will reverse this at some point, and we will get not necessarily day and date, but maybe like next day. So it airs on Disney Channel and then it's on Disney Plus the day after. But I'm sure that this is just them going, let's not start a fight with our friends.
Yeah. I think it's going to have to come eventually, because I think, the way that they're losing subscribers over on their main channels, and the kids' channels just drop. It just feels like at the minute there's still a lot of like separation. The Disney Channel is, National Geographic. Even this past week, National Geographic have announced tons of TV shows that are coming to National Geographic Wild, and loads of like shows have been renewed, like Dr. Poe and Dr. Oakley and stuff. But it's still very much along the lines of, these are coming to our channel on this date. Whereas everything else, you're going, when they're going, it's coming to our channel, but it'll be on Hulu the day after. They've still got that kind of thing on there. And I just feels to me at the minute like Disney and these channels haven't quite linked up enough. Maybe they didn't have enough faith in it to like, no, we're still carrying on with our plan. But looking at what all the other streamers are doing, it's like, basically you're going to end up with Disney Channel and the National Geographic Channel being the only one you can't watch content on the day after it's been available.
Yeah, and so I can see it maybe for Disney Channel keeping that gap for a little bit longer, but there's really no good reason for National Geographic to be waiting on the content. The channel, the actual physical channel for National Geographic will always have an audience, but it's nowhere near the level of the major broadcasters, including the Disney Channel. And I feel like anything they can do to make that National Geographic's brand more prominent by getting more content on Disney Plus would have to help them.
Yeah, I just think as a whole, it's just, for me, it's the one thing right now where I see like, come on, that's like, you just need to go to that next level to upgrade. You just need, and I also think of like this week, if we would be sat in here now talking about what's new on Disney Plus, and we going, well, there was this new show, and there's this show where we had the 4th episode of Dr. Oakley, and we had this episode. It's like, it would up it. At the minute, I mean, they spread out that library content. We had some new shows added on Wednesday. We had things like Wild Russia. We also had Continent 7. So they're adding some of a couple of episodes from a few years ago of some series. They also have like Randy Cunningham and The Lodge from the Disney Channel. And it's like, yeah, this is all really old stuff. It's like, we need newer stuff than what they're putting on there, because it is looking very weak on these weekly drops of. It's like this week, I was just like, yeah, okay. I was just like clicking through them all. It's like, yeah, I want to watch The Runaways and a few other series that I want to watch, but there's nothing been pulling me on to Disney Plus this week. There's so many new shows starting. There's so much new stuff on all the different other networks that I'd much rather watch, especially like me and my wife when we're sat there watching. It's like my wife said to me yesterday, like, okay, well, what's on there new? Well, there is a new show, but I'm not even going to put you through it. It's just along the lines of that was. I said, well, there's a new. I said, like, Timmy Foley is coming up and the rest of it. But my wife is just like, she goes, there's not really been anything on there you've been showing me to watch. I was like, yeah, that says it all, really. There's just The Mandalorian has left this massive gaping hole in the lineup, and now it looks very weak. I'm going to be honest, things like The World According to Jeff Goldblum and Encore, that's not pulling people in. And I mean, it's probably a good moment there to move on to. But Diary of a Future President. Let's get into our reviews on that one. Brand new show. Yeah, I just didn't think much of it. I don't know. What did you think of it?
About the same, honestly. And we've been saying a lot of, this isn't for us, and that it's obviously not. I'm not going to say that on this one, even though it is true, because I think even the target audience is going to be like, what is this? This is very odd.
It's the thing is, I was going into it because the thing of like, okay, so it's about a 12-year-old girl. Okay, fine. And it's a family comedy. Okay. I liked Goldbergs. I liked Malcolm in the Middle. I didn't mind, I think, was it The Middle? There's a few other ones, Young Sheldon. There's a number of big TV series that feature kids. And they are watchable for everybody, and everyone can enjoy it. And there's lots of gags for everybody. And it's a full, normal, what I would call a family can sit down and watch it. And the dad is going to like, everyone in the family can sort of have a little bit of a chuckle with it. This I sort of watched and going, this is not a family comedy. I can't. There's going to be a whole chunk of the family that are going to be like, this is not. It's like the adult side of it felt really like light. There wasn't really a lot of adults in this. I mean, I like the mum and dad, or the mum and the boyfriend. That aspect to the show. And I like the fact they're having an open discussion about her co-worker won't come out to her parents because of their old-fashioned. But I would have much preferred the series just to be about the president now, not about what she was doing. And I was much more interested in her being a president right now than as she was as a 12-year-old, catching her friends not cheating about lying about having a period. It was just like, what? I was just like, what? No, I didn't get it. It was just like one of those shows where I was going, this isn't for me. This feels like something that should be on the Disney Channel. This is not general entertainment. This is a certain audience that are going to love this, but this is not big enough to pull in the fill the gap from The Mandalorian. It's not strong enough.
Well, I don't think it was supposed to fill the gap for The Mandalorian. I think the gap for The Mandalorian is Mandalorian season 2 or Obi-Wan or something like that. And Disney knows that. They weren't pitching that this is that.
Yeah.
But for the show itself, like you said, a lot of the adult stuff, the stuff in the future, I guess it would be, was a bit more interesting. And the problem at the moment, or one of the problems at the moment, is although we know that this girl becomes this woman at some point, there is nothing in this show that really shows that. Now, there is an exception to that. Right at the very end of the show, she has to do a presentation, which she basically has to do off the cuff because she didn't prepare for it properly. And you can see that speech ability, the ability to make a compelling argument on the fly, which is in theory an essential trait for a president or political figure to have. So there's a little bit of that, but the majority of it is just here's a teenage girl having what I presume are teenage girl problems in middle school, and just like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I think that's the trouble. Is like for me, of like, you know, there's no, and it is that thing. 'Cause, like, I watched the Goldbergs, and I could always relate to Adam because I was a kid, a young boy in the '80s. Everything that he was going through, went through. Exactly what he, the and I was, and that's probably why that show has resonated with me as like a really good show that features a kid but has grown up as it's gone along and was fun to watch. And me and my wife would sit there and watch it. Whereas this was just like, this just doesn't connect with me. I know I'm a white British male in my nearly 40s. I don't get it. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I really hope that there's a massive audience and that this show does pick up a thing, because I really, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I just didn't think much of it. And it's just like, it wasn't meant for me. And I would say, if you haven't watched it, watch it, see what you think of it, have your own opinion, because you might like it. But I mean, I went into High School Musical, the series, wasn't expecting to like it, thought it was going to be a bit too Disney Channel stuff, and was surprised that it wasn't. It was much higher than that. It was a bit more broader. Whereas I went in kind of maybe expecting that, and it kind of went down a bit and going, oh, this just feels like it would have been on the Disney Channel, and it wouldn't have felt out of place on the Disney Channel.
No, and that's probably where it was originally. Well, no, we know that's where it originally was going to end up. I think one of the biggest problems with it right now is that in the setup episode, this might change later, but it really feels like it was designed to push buttons. It was kind of designed to get to cause a bit of controversy. We obviously saw that with the title, which they eventually changed. But a lot of the topics it covers, while important topics, it really felt like they were just kind of there to be like to do a little bit of flag waving. Buzzwords, pitching to a particular audience. And I'm gonna get flamed for this anyway, but the audience that they're aiming with these kind of buzzwords should be older than 12, 13-year-old kids. That shouldn't be one of their primary concerns yet. And I don't know, it's weird. It's kind of, I'm not sure what they expect the audience to be here.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's like, as an international person watching this, is different as well, because, you've got that whole political issue in the US, which is, why they had to change the name. I mean, I remember putting up articles about, every time I put up an article about this series, they'd be full of, like, because it was Diary of a Female President, it just alienated it. The comments were awful, absolutely awful. And I'm like, I remember watching going, oh, this is like fighting a battle before, already, and it was just like the comment section and the social media stuff was just like, oh my God, this is just this, and then they changed the name, which calmed it all down. Every time I did an article since then, it's never had the response, because anyone just flicking through it isn't triggered by it. I don't know why, and it's that kind of weird thing. Is like, again, because I've lived in a country where I've had female prime ministers and we have a queen which runs the country, I don't have that whole ish. I don't get it. So therefore, it doesn't mean anything, because like, oh yeah, you can, I've had a female prime minister for years. We just had one, and we had, had strong, and so I don't have that whole problem that America has. So therefore, I'm looking at it for a different line, and like this whole thing of being Latino and all the rest of it is like, it doesn't. I don't think it translates very well outside of America as well. That might be another issue. I'm just like, yeah, okay, what's the big deal? Why you make it's like, I know in America it's probably a massive thing of what she's doing, but for maybe outside of us, New Zealand's got a female prime minister. We're not. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I was looking at it. It's like, this is just, it feels like an America problem, that the rest of us don't really have this issue.
In many ways, it's just kind of like raising up that issue of like, oh, look how backwards we are that we have to make such a big deal about a female president or a potential female president. It's like, yeah, it shouldn't be that big a deal. And at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me at all if it was intentionally named that originally by Disney to kind of get people's hackles up. And that says a lot about America right now, and not many good things, honestly.
No, I think that's the trouble again. It's like I said, coming into it as an international viewer that's not gone